Well, another good weekend, eh? Ireland win, as predicted, against the Russians. Do it pretty professionally. Knock up 60-odd points. Win by 50 against what is a very poor team. The purpose, though, of watching a match like Russia is not to say we scored 9 tries, but say, what does this tell us about the crunch match next week? Because despite all the euphoria of Australia, all the excitement, and every person I've met in the last week has said to me, are we going to win the World Cup? Unbelievably. There's 5 weeks left and already we're talking about the final. All right, here are the stakes. We play Italy, win or take all. If we lose, we go home. It's as simple as that. So we must beat Italy. What am I worried about? Well, first and foremost, I find it extraordinary that David Trimble isn't a first-choice wing. He was magnificent during the summer games, and he was superb, I thought, against the Russians. Was the outstanding back, in my view, irrespective of O'Gara getting man of the match. And there's a question for you. Are you an O'Gara man or a Sexton man? Well, whichever way you are, you're not for turning. That's for absolutely certain. But when you think that Johnny Sexton's kicking percentage is way below 50%, we're going into an Italian game in which there's not going to be a lot of tries. Surely you bring your best kicker. So I think it's going to be incredibly interesting who Kidney picks at fly half. Also, I worry about the poor performance of Jamie Heaslip so far. Again, against a bad Russian side, he was hugely at fault for Vasily Artemyev's try, because it's his job to cover inside Sean O'Brien the scrum. He didn't do it. He missed the tackle. I'm really worried that Tom Croft didn't play. He wasn't even on the bench, which seems to indicate he's hurt. Can we go into Italy with Tony Buckley on the bench? It's a terrifying thought if Ross or Healy were to get hurt. But what about Sean O'Brien? Oh my God, he is just unbelievable. This man, if he were in the National Football League playing for the Chargers or the Tigers or the Mermaids or whatever they're called over there, he would be MVP every week. He'd be the biggest thing in the NFL, because I've never seen anybody carry a ball as often and as far as this man. Against Russia, he caught everything thrown at him and made umpteen yards, time out of number. This fella puts his body where you wouldn't put a blacksmith's anvil. Extraordinary performance by him. Worried too about our inability, although we scored 9 tries, think back, in those 80 minutes, how many times did you see a legitimate back move that went round the defence as opposed to through it? And we will meet better defences. Now ask yourself the question, brick wall in front, is it easier to go through it or round it? Answer next week, but you know what you ought to be doing. Why are we not going round defences? It was extraordinary that one of the worst teams in the tournament was able to go round us for their second try, the Russians, and we weren't able to do it all morning or all night, depending on which hemisphere you happen to have been watching the match. All in all, I think it continues the momentum. Momentum isn't a dirty word, you know. It's important. As you can imagine, there's a buzz in the camp now. We've won these games. Crucially, and coaches try and do this all the time and sometimes fail. How do you get inside the players' heads? How do you tell them, to mind the final, as the end of October, we have to beat Italy? Now, you just imagine, in your workplace, in your school, your university, or wherever, everybody's talking about a World Cup final. Nobody's talking about beating Italy. Now, that can get to the players just the same way. And the players' focus can move from next Sunday morning to the end of October. Do that, and you could lose. The Italians, how could the Italians beat us? Well, they have a smashing scrum. They haven't got a half-bad line-out. They've got a good maul. And they've discovered a pair of half-backs who aren't half-bad either. Will it be pretty? I don't think so. I don't think it'll be pretty at all. But I think we could win ugly into a quarter-final, where, remember, we haven't been for 8 years. Probably Wales, Wales are good. Wales are better than people are giving them credit for. But more about Wales, because I don't want to get ahead of myself either. More about Wales if we meet them in the quarterfinal. But for now, it's going to be Italy. I think it's going to be very tight. I think there aren't going to be a lot of tries. I would like to see O'Gara at fly half. I'd like to see Trimble on the left wing, and I'd like Jamie Heaslip to get a kick up the posterior and be told, work your butt off, the one that I've just kicked, for the next 80 minutes, because we need you against Italy. Otherwise, we're going to ask Donegal Ryan to fill in. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what I'd do. Don't forget, lots of rugby on the Right Hook all week, 4:30 until 7, Monday to Friday. And particularly on Friday, we'll be previewing the game. But for whatever it is your fancy, that's the place to find me most days.